Okay, good evening. The time is 7:04. We'll call the meeting to order. We're going to read our declaration. In accordance with the State Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by mailing notice of the meeting on January 9th, 2025 and December 23rd, 2025. The notice was provided to Board of Education members, Montgomery Township Clerk, Rocky Hill Borough Clerk, Public Library, Township Posting, School Posting, PTSA officers, Courier News, Princeton Packet, Trenton Times, and the Star Ledger. The Board reserves the right to enter executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. This meeting is being recorded for the purpose of board review and future reference to assist in preparation of the minutes. Okay. The next item on our agenda this evening is I'm going to announce the results of the annual school election. There were three three-year seats, and I'm going to read the votes for the candidates as follows. Catherine Worland, 5,619 votes. Julius Nunez, 5,324 votes. Francine Pfeffer, 5,270 votes. Peter Lee, 3,526 votes. Manuela Kajernigan, 3,443 votes. And Joanna Filak, 3,437 votes. Okay. At this time, for our newly elected board members, I have a piece of paper that I put in front of you, and if you could please pick the piece of paper up and meet me up at the podium, we're going to do our swearing-in ceremony. All right, so what we're going to do, I'm going to stand here. So have the three of you, 1, 2, 3, like this in front of me. All right, I'll work. That's the last. Do you want to do a photo first? So what we're going to do is say, I'm supposed to be just a second. I, please state your name.
Catherine Worland.
Julius Nunez.
Francine Pfeffer.
Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and the governments established in the United States and this state,
and to the governments established in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, please state your name,
Catherine Worland.
Julius Nunez.
Francine Pfeffer.
do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
That
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law
for the office of member of the Board of Education,
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4.1,
am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4.1,
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
all duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
all duties of that office according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, congratulations to our new board members. Welcome. Okay, at this time I'll take the roll. Dr. Wang?
Here.
Ms. Pfeffer? Here. Ms. Spina?
Present.
Ms. Frecker Herman?
Present.
Ms. Worley?
Present.
Ms. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Nunez? Present. Ms. Nargo?
Here.
Mr. Todd?
Present.
Thank you. Please rise for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next order of business for this evening is going to be a presentation from School Board Representative Gwen Thornton. She's going to provide the board with their annual ethics training. Welcome, Ms. Thornton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me congratulate the brand new board members. Welcome to board service. I know that you will find it energizing, exciting, informative, and interesting. You have the pleasure of joining a very high-performing school district and a board that is committed to doing great things for students all across Montgomery Township. So welcome. And for those of you, I think I know the rest of you, Happy New Year to everyone. It's also Board Member Appreciation Month, so on behalf of all the staff and officers, let me thank you for your service, even though it may be really brief, like 2 minutes long so far. But for the rest of you, really, and I'm teasing, but really thank you for your service. It is greatly appreciated. So one of the requirements for Board of Education members is to routinely, I don't know why I did that. Can you go back to slideshow? It triggered that list. I will continue while they're working on that by saying to you, as a requirement of your service, you're required annually to have ethics training. This fulfills that obligation and responsibilities. I put on your desk a copy of the acknowledgement form that you need to sign and date and return to your business administrator. That goes to the Executive County Office. It is proof that you have been trained on the school ethics law, and that's why we have it there for you. I've also included a copy of the code so that you always have that with you. Additionally, I've also included a list of relatives who by definition could potentially create a conflict for Board of Education members. It's very helpful to have that and to keep that with you as well. So I am going to present information. I am not a board attorney. Only your board attorney can provide you with legal advice. However, we will be providing you with information that is factual. But if you have any questions, you should always consult with your board attorney for advice. The School Ethics Act was enacted to ensure that the public has confidence and respect for the Board of Education, and to ensure that board members avoid any conduct that could potentially be seen as a violation of the public trust, or could give justifiable impression, the perception among the public that such trust is being violated. And these are really the minimum ethical standards by which all school board members must abide. Who enforces the act? The School Ethics Commission. When I was a social studies teacher 100 years ago, I thought that was the Securities Exchange Commission. But when I became a Board of Education member in New Jersey, I quickly found out it was the School Ethics Commission. They have 9 members, much like your board. A quorum is 5. There are 5 non-school officials, 2 school board members, 2 school administrators, all appointed by the governor. They serve for 3-year terms, and no more than 5 can be from any one political party, because as you know, boards of education are nonpartisan and not connected in any way, shape, or form to any political party. So currently there are 2 school board member seats vacant. If any of you are interested, contact your state legislator. NJSBA does not appoint, it's a gubernatorial appointment, and there is 1 seat currently vacant for school administrators. So, what are the provisions of the School Ethics Act? Talks to mandatory training, the Code of Ethics, which we're going to talk about tonight, the disclosure statements, which you'll be required to fill out, and then prohibited acts for Board of Education members to be aware of. You may be interested to know that those disclosure statements are also something that the professional staff of NJSBA fills out every year as well. So this is something that I routinely do by April 30th of every year, the same way those of you who are seated board members have until April 30th to complete that process. Mandatory training. You are required as brand new board members to complete in the first 90 days of your service Governance 1. We often call it new board member orientation, and it will provide you with a basic understanding of New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum, QSAC. We turn every noun into a verb, you get QSAC, and HIV, which is harassment, intimidation, and bullying, Chief School Administrator Evaluation Process, the Open Public Meetings Act, and the Code of Ethics at SAC. By the end of the second year of your board service, you're required to take the second year of training. It's around finance, the budget, your oversight role, fiduciary oversight role, and student achievement. Governance 3, which you have an entire year, 2, 3, and 4 to take, is around policy and labor relations. And Gov 4 is required in the first year of any term subsequent to the completion of a full term of 3 years. And it is always around updates. We have provided the training. We're named in the law to provide the training. We have in-person opportunities. We have virtual opportunities. We've just revised all the self-paced courses. I'm very excited about that. We've added an AI chat box, Coach Carla, to assist you as you move through those self-paced online courses. I think you will find them interesting. It will allow you to get ask questions as well as provide you with feedback with some of your responses. So it is really very exciting to see that happening. So the financial disclosure statements, all school officials must file. If you're just sworn in tonight, you have 30 days from tonight to fill out those forms. They will come to your email address from the state of New Jersey. You simply fill them out and hit send, and you'll be done. If you're a returning school official, for the other board members, you have until April the 30th. I go back to when the dinosaur roamed the earth, and you had to fill them out in duplicate in blue or black ink, sign 2 originals, and return them to your business administrator. It's much simpler now. You can do it online from the comfort of your home, so it shouldn't take you a lot of time to do. They are not interested in knowing your income. They want to know the sources of your income, not your income. Please know that we have begun to see a number of cases where folks have not filed their financial statements within the time frame allowed, and the SEC has taken a much more active role, and we have seen some suspensions of 30 and 60 days for board members who fail to complete this in a timely way. So I do urge you to do it. It shouldn't take a great deal of time. One of my suggestions was you're a new board member and you fill it out once, do it on your computer, make a copy so that next year you can look at last year's and fill it back out again, so you don't have to look up the address of various kinds of people that you may generate revenue from, and it just makes it even quicker to do, just as a handy hint to do it quickly. So what composes the Code of Ethics? You just swore that you would uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the state board, the state of New Jersey, and the federal government. But the code requires you to do that, and it asks and says that changes shall be made only through legal and ethical processes. So you want to make sure that you are always comporting with all of those legal requirements that are in the law. You will make decisions in the terms of the educational benefit of all students across your school district, regardless of race, creed, sex, or social standing. So are you responsible for all students and provide them with their individual needs and making sure you're meeting those. You're required to confine your board actions of policy making, planning, and appraisal, and adopt policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who may be affected or impacted by your policies. You will carry out the responsibilities not to administer the schools, but together with your colleagues to see that they are well run. The Board of Education has 4 major roles: oversight, the adoption of curriculum and instructional materials, the responsibility for evaluating the superintendent, adopting the budget, and communicating with the community. But the day-to-day operations of the school district are the responsibility of the administration. You are not charged with deciding whether to have a snow day or not a snow day. You're not responsible for deciding how your facilities should be utilized. All of the things that go on a day-to-day basis in the school district are the responsibility of your educational leaders who you employ to make those kinds of decisions. You will recognize that the authority rests with the full Board of Education and make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board. No individual board member has any authority individually. You only have authority as a collective corporate board of 9. Once this meeting is adjourned, or any meeting is adjourned, and you go back out into your community, you have absolutely no more authority than I do. And while I live in the same county as you do, I do not live here in Montgomery, and I have no more authority than you would unless you were seated at a duly advertised meeting of the Board of Education. You will refuse to surrender your judgment to special interests or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or the gain of friends. That's pretty straightforward. You must make sure that you make good decisions based on the information that you have and what's in the best interest of all students in the Montgomery Township. You will hold confidential all matters that, if disclosed, could needlessly injure individuals or schools. In all other matters, you will provide accurate information in concert with your colleagues, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools. You will vote to appoint most qualified personnel after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer. The Board of Education cannot employ anyone that does not have the recommendation of the superintendent. Whether you're talking about a bus driver or a teacher or another administrator, it must come with the recommendation, through the recommendation of the Chief School Administrator or Superintendent. You will support and protect school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. Making sure that you are taking care of your staff effectively, negotiating in good faith, remunerating them fairly, respecting their professionalism and their ability to work with your students. Teaching is not an easy profession. It is a very challenging one. Anyone who has children knows that. It can be very challenging. Referring all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer, to your superintendent, and act on complaints at public meetings only after the failure of an administrative solution. One of the things that sometimes surprises new board members and even seated board members is that members of the public may come to you and have a concern or an issue. Unfortunately, you don't have the authority to solve anyone's problems, but what you can do is you can tell them and help them gain access to the folks who can solve their problems. So understanding who's responsible for what in your district, so that if someone comes to you with a busing problem, you know to tell them to go to the transportation office. If someone comes and they have a question about some line item in the budget, to direct them to the business administrator. To make sure, in most instances, parents may come about a problem with their child or their child's teacher, but making sure that you direct them back to the person closest to the situation who is best able to find solutions for that problem. And then, if they're not satisfied with the resolution at that level, to take it to the next level. What does that look like? Well, if it was a classroom teacher, it would be the principal, and after the principal, it would be an assistant superintendent in charge of curriculum and instruction, and dependent upon the problem. So understanding there's a chain of command, and giving the public access by sharing information with them is the best way to help them. Okay. Who can file an ethics complaint? In truth, any member of the public, anywhere, can file an ethics complaint. And by virtue of the live streaming of boards of education members, an unintended outcome primarily of COVID, but a good one in many ways because it's given access to the public to see what boards of education do, which I think is really helpful. Anyone from another community could file an ethics charge against a board member. So the charges must be filed within 180 days of the incident that you claim the violation took place. You have to fill out a form that's available online at the SEC's website, citing the section of the Act, which particular component A through J was violated, and then providing factual evidence to support your assertion that there was a violation. There is, however, a protection in a sense that helps boards of education members, and that is that the SEC has the authority to levy a fine of up to $500 for someone who might file or be inclined to file a frivolous complaint, to discourage folks from just randomly using the SEC and the ethics code as a cudgel to beat someone up. What kind of punishments can they administer if they find someone has violated the code? A reprimand, which is pretty simple. It's what we do say to our children all the time: don't do that again. It's simply to say you've made an error, don't do it again. Censure is more formal disapproval, comes from the Commissioner of Education. It must be read publicly at a Board of Education meeting, and it must be included in the minutes. A suspension is when you are barred from engaging in any activity or matter having to do with the Board of Education for a specific period of time. Generally, they're done in 30-day increments, 30, 60, 90. They also have the ability, and they have in the past, ability to remove you from a Board of Education. And that's an immediate termination. And if you're an administrator, it would be your employer. So they have that ability to levy any of those penalties. Sometimes we have found recently that board members are dependent upon advice of counsel as a defense for violations. However, these are always very fact specific, but just to give you some sense of that, if you would be inclined to use that kind of defense, you would have to have proof that you received advice prior to the action that you took that was the violation, that the individual who was offering that advice relied upon, possessed some kind of authority or responsibility. I would hope for most of you that would mean they had a law degree. That all pertinent facts and circumstances were fully disclosed, and that the individual complied with the advice received. All of those four factors must be present in order to use advice of counsel. Again, it's very fact specific, but it is something that we have seen, but it is very difficult to prove that. So again, for your awareness. There are a whole host of cases this past year. Most of what you will see are cases whereby board members stepped outside of their appropriate role and responsibilities to involve themselves in some fashion that caused the SEC to find them responsible. So I'm not going to read a lot of these cases. There are links there for you. All of those links are live. I have sent Andrew a PDF of this presentation that he will send all of you, so that if you wish to go through and read all of these cases, I know you have a packed agenda, and I'm not going to sit and read all of these cases, but when you read through them, what you will see is that by and large, almost in every instance, it is where board members have stepped outside of their role and taken actions that go beyond what they are supposed to do by law, and have either begun to administer the district and or involve themselves with personnel inappropriately, or involve themselves with other members of the community, which is problematic at times. Okay? Here's one where a board member read another board member text aloud at a public meeting that provided information about a school official and administrator. That person was reprimanded. You go back to the code, you're responsible for protecting school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. Reading a text aloud at a public meeting about a school official that was negative is not protecting school personnel in their duties. Okay. Sometimes there may be issues that come before you where you might think that you should not participate where you may have a conflict, and we'll talk about those conflicts in a minute. But I just want to make a couple of points about the difference between recusal and abstentions. If there is a legal prohibition against you participating in a particular topic, you must recuse yourself. It's a requirement in the law. And by recuse yourself, it's not just not voting on the issue, and when the vote comes, you say, I recuse myself. It's not being present for any discussions of the board on a particular issue or topic if you have a conflict that is a legal prohibition. You can abstain, which is a different piece. Abstention can be used if you feel you don't have sufficient information to make an informed decision, or you were not present. So for example, if you approve the minutes from last month's meeting, new board members tonight would most likely abstain because you were not present. So you can't say that they're accurate. I'm not suggesting they're inaccurate. However, you weren't present, so you would typically abstain from approving those minutes. So sometimes you could use an abstention if you have not been present or you don't have sufficient information to make an informed decision. However, abstention should never be used to avoid making a difficult vote on an issue that may be of some notoriety or consternation in your community. You've been elected by your community to represent the best interests of every child in this community. And so you should not be using an abstention to avoid voting. Okay. Relationships definitions. How do you know if you're conflicted? The School Ethics Commission defines an immediate family member as I'm not going to read these to you, but it's a spouse, civil domestic partner, dependent child residing in the same household. And then there are a list of relatives that are there that are, again, could create conflicts, and their aunts, uncles, nephews, grandparents, grandchildren, step-parents, stepchildren, half-brothers and sisters, again, your individual spouse or their partner by blood, marriage, or adoption. The actual ethics law has a very narrow definition of relatives, but the nepotism law, which was created far after the ethics code, has a more expansive definition of relative, and the School Ethics Commission has now expanded that expanded definition of relative to the school ethics code. So you need to be aware of that, okay? Again, it does not appear in prohibited acts or the code of ethics, but a relative can create a conflict. Additionally, even if they're not one of those relations, someone can be an other by virtue of relationships that they may have that don't include marriage, that don't include a civil union, that don't include those types of things. So you need to be aware of that as well. Okay. The School Ethics Commission can either adjudicate a case, but in addition to adjudicating ethics complaints, they also can issue advisory opinions. We commonly refer to them as AOs. You will see in some of the slides where the link is an AO, which means it's an advisory opinion. So advisory opinions, if you believe you might have a conflict on an issue that is coming before the board, you can ask the Ethics Commission for an advisory opinion. You must do that on a prospective basis. You can't wait, vote, and then say, oops, I should have asked. You have to ask ahead of time, and they will get back to you in a timely way with an advisory opinion. Okay? Sometimes, if advisory opinions have such widespread implication for all Board of Education members across the state, the Ethics Commission will make an AO public. However, they have to have 6 members of the SEC voting to make AOs public. Oftentimes, 5 of them are at meetings and not 6. And so what we have seen in the last couple of years, at least the last 2 years running, is that there have been no AOs from January right through December. And then in December, we get a drop of 20 plus AOs that come out in the middle of December, because that's when they publish them, because they don't generally have 6 votes to make them public. They remove all identifiers when they make an advisory opinion public. They remove the district, they remove the name of the board member, and they just state the outcome of the case. So that's something you should know. If you ask for an advisory opinion and it's just you asking prospectively, you will get a response. If they would make that advisory public, they would remove your name, your district from that AO. It is an opinion from the SEC whether your activity or conduct proposed would violate the provisions of the SEC. Okay? So I love this slide because it has a policeman there. And the reason for that is if I asked you if a policeman stopped you on the street and said, stop doing that, would you do it? Probably not. Most of us believe in the rule of law of our local police. The AO carries that same weight. So understand, while it is advice, just be mindful that when they say something would constitute a violation, you should listen to what it is they have to say. We have seen instances where board members have said, well, it's just advice, and I didn't like the advice, so I went ahead and did it, which is foolhardy. Because what I will tell you is when that happens, the SEC looks at it in a much different light than if someone just filed a violation against you or an ethics charge against you because they've already opined on it, and now you're coming back and you did exactly what they advised you not to do. So it is most likely what we have seen is that one of those few instances where it has happened and people have not been very logical about it, the penalties are more significant than if you hadn't gotten the AO and been told not to do it. Here are some of the 20 AOs. Again, the first one is, can the board invoke the doctrine of necessity? That was a case where someone asked if you could invoke the doctrine of necessity to deliberate on an issue. And the Ethics Commission said, no, you can't invoke the doctrine of necessity because you're not voting, you're just deliberating. And deliberating doesn't require invoking the doctrine of necessity. If you have the doctrine of necessity, it's a legal device whereby if you had so many members conflicted out of being able to vote, legally conflicted out, and we do have some boards, I was talking to a board earlier this week, 7 of the 9 members all have conflicts. So in order to vote to approve a contract, to hire a superintendent, to do almost anything, they have to invoke the doctrine of necessity, whereby they read into the minutes publicly everyone's conflict, and then everyone can come back in and vote on a particular issue that does require a majority of the board, 5 or more members. Okay? So there are some interesting pieces here, but you can see that these are really very, again, specific, but these are meant, the outcomes, to guide you, and we've included all of the backup to all of that in your slides, so you will be able to see that and read through them, so you will be aware, because they do expect that you will have seen the advisory opinions and are abiding by them. Okay? What's a benefit? Because you have to avoid conflicts and prohibited acts. A benefit is really a direct or indirect advantage, profit or privilege that you might gain as an individual, whether it's personal, financial, or otherwise. And the determinative factor here is not just the law, but the perception of the public, not your individual belief as a board member, but what would your public think if you were to do it, okay? Here's a case where a board member, during a board meeting, he was running for the General Assembly. He used his board seat to solicit support and votes for his personal political campaign for the General Assembly, and he was found to have used his seat to acquire a personal benefit. No money was exchanged, right? There was no dollars and cents here, but it was simply that he would have a benefit from using his board seat to campaign. Okay? So you must recuse yourself if there's a benefit to you, the board member, or your immediate family, husband, wife, dependent child living at home. If there is a business interest or professional activity that puts you in conflict, whether if you were to use, as that individual did that I was just speaking about, his position to secure unwarranted privileges, advantages, or employment, or if you had financial involvement that might impair your objectivity, again, any kind of service or employment that you may have that may prejudice your individual judgment, a gift or a favor that is given with intent to influence you, or financial gain that might accrue to you. Okay? So other considerations around prohibited acts: you cannot represent any person or party other than the board and districts in matters that come before the board. Sometimes you may have, depending upon, we've seen instances where family members may have gone with a relative to support a child in an IEP hearing, for example, or to advocate for an out-of-district placement. You cannot do that as a Board of Education member because you are representing against essentially the Board of Education, all right? Okay, so just as a matter. The judgment here is whether the conflict you accrue a gain that is greater than any others in your community would gain. And by that, often I'm asked, we have to approve field trips, and there's a 4th grade field trip, and I have a 4th grader, can I vote to approve it? The answer is yes, because all 4th graders are going. Your 4th grader is not getting an advantage that is any greater than any other 4th grader or 5th grader of that nature. So that's the dividing line. Do you get a greater benefit than someone else? And I think that makes it pretty simple, okay? And again, here are some indirect, direct cases where people have gotten themselves into pickles. A board member was given free representation for defense of an ethics charge. She had a board attorney relationship with that attorney who provided her counsel, and then the legal firm came before her board on a vote, and she voted to approve the legal firm. So while no money changed hands, it was seen as a benefit that accrued to her by virtue of her vote. Okay? Again, I'm not going to read through all of these because all of your families watching and the public would think it's like watching a wallpaper dry, which I understand. Okay. So other kinds of conflicts: if you have a relative who's already employed in the district, you cannot participate in the terms and conditions of employment for the superintendent, supervisors in the chain of command between the relative and the CSA. You can't take part in any kind of search for a new superintendent, selection or vote to hire a new superintendent, any kind of superintendent evaluations and contract discussions. But that's if you have an immediate family member employed in the district, and that's in any capacity, including a coach, including a summer worker. It can sometimes include substitutes, depending upon how you employ substitutes. If they're directly paid through the district as opposed to paid through substitute service, it would be a conflict. If they're not paid by the district to provide that service, you should consult with your board attorney. Okay? So again, we have seen this impact now on committee assignments, and this is a relatively recent phenomenon, not brand new, but we're seeing more cases where if you have a family member and you are a board member, you cannot sit on certain committees that would touch upon the employment of your family member, or if you're the board president, you can't appoint committee chairs, you can't appoint members to committees. Your vice president would have to do it if you had a family member as a board president. Okay? Collective bargaining, again, the SEC has weighed in on this. It's a handy little chart. If you have an immediate family member or relative who works in your district, you may not participate in negotiations. You may not vote to ratify the contract. You should not participate at all. If you happen to be a member of the same or similar statewide association, In New Jersey, we have NEA, but we also have AFT, we also have AFL-CIO, and even some districts have Teamsters. Those are all considered similar or same statewide unions, so it doesn't matter. If they don't work in this district, but they are a member, an immediate family member, you can not participate in negotiations, but you can vote to ratify the final contract if all of the terms are laid out and all of the financial costs are included in that package, absent heightened union affiliation. What is heightened union affiliation? If your family member is a building rep, if you or your family member is on the negotiating team in the district where they work, that those things would give you a secondary level of conflict, and you should check with your board attorney. Okay? Campaigns and collective bargaining. Board members who receive union endorsements may be conflicted from collective bargaining if negotiations begin within a year of election. Again, endorsement of a candidate by a local or national statewide association does not create per se an automatic conflict unless a financial contribution has been given with the intent to influence. Okay? So again, these are things that if you think you may have a conflict, check with your board attorney. Sometimes over time, people's employment changes, family members' employment changes. While you are a seated board member, you want to make sure that if those things change, you always check with your board attorney to get clearance, because you don't want to accidentally overstep. Okay. Volunteering in schools. Board members are not discouraged from volunteering. However, it must be carried out within the confines of the SEC. And the SEC really looks at the amount of involvement with students and staff, the frequency of the level of interaction, and authority, whether you are giving or receiving directions or orders to students or staff, and resources or funds. So again, single one-off opportunities for volunteering are perfectly fine. Chaperoning a field trip, working at the concession stand at football games, any of those kinds of things are fine. If you're a classroom parent going in for a class party, I'm assuming we still do those things, even if I'm sure we do. And those things are all fine. But again, you don't want to see that you're enmeshed in a building, so much so that if some member of the public came in and saw you there, they would think you were on the staff. And you also never want to be given direction to students or to staff. That is problematic. Okay. Visiting a school. Some of you may only have children at a particular level, at elementary or middle school level, maybe not in high school. You may want to go visit a school. I've never met a superintendent or a principal who wasn't proud of their buildings, who didn't welcome the Board of Education members to go into a school. However, you must arrange those visits through your superintendent's office so that you don't disrupt the educational program, and because you really have, other than to observe, there is no real reason for you to be in a building on a regular basis. That is not your responsibility. Again, always advise your superintendent when you're going to be in the school as a parent or volunteer. It is a protection for you so that everyone is aware of what you are doing. Again, make sure that you stay on point with the purpose of the visit. And you know, it takes about 15, 20 seconds once a board member goes into the front door, so the entire staff is aware that there's a board member in the building. I'm not really exaggerating, trust me, on that. And again, any visit to a school that's in conjunction with board function, like the facilities committee is going to tour a particular set of rooms to look at facility needs, that's perfectly appropriate. What I'm talking about is just routinely dropping into the schools without having an appointment or function that you're there for. That does not mean you can't go in to parent-teacher conferences. You are always your child's first and best advocate. Any public events, I hugely encourage you to attend those as board members. The public really values, and most importantly, the students appreciate having you present for those kinds of celebratory opportunities, for the concerts, for science fairs, robotic shows, art shows, all of those things. You are always welcome at public functions to be in the schools. Okay? Social media. The Ethics Commission has spent the lion's share of 2023 to 2026, and I suspect it will continue, to adjudicating cases and answering advisories around social media. And while technology can be a real plus in terms of communicating, it has often, unfortunately, been misused. And so you just need to be mindful that you are bound by the school code of ethics. So if you're going to use social media, you need to make sure that you are not disclosing confidential information, that you are not discussing topics of board business on social media, because they're going to look to see if there's a nexus between your post and your role in membership on the Board of Education. And that's not to frighten you, it's just to make you aware that it can be problematic, quite frankly. And so what I would tell you, someone asked me last night, I was doing this presentation, and they said, well, you know, what should I do on social media? And I said, my best advice is nothing. Nothing. Board business belongs at the board table. It belongs at committee meetings. The public has the right, as they do tonight, to observe the conduct of district business. Therefore, the business of the board belongs at the board table. It does not belong on Facebook or Twitter or X or on a myriad of social platforms that I don't even know the names of, thank goodness. I've spent my entire life staying under the radar, and I would like to stay there the rest of my life. And that, again, is not to say that we don't use emails, or that we don't use technology. It's wonderful, but it can also be dangerous. If you're going to, and you're going to ignore my wonderful wisdom of staying off, please make sure you include a disclaimer. There is the official SEC disclaimer. You know, the following statements are made in my capacity as a private citizen and not in my capacity as a board member. These statements don't represent the board or its individual members and solely represents my own personal opinion. Again, you don't have to use that exact wording. However, you need to make sure you use a disclaimer. And here's what I will tell you. It doesn't say it here, but I will tell you. The social media disclaimer is not a get out of jail card. It depends on the content of what you have said on social media. So you can use this disclaimer on every single post you make, and depending upon what you say on social media, it doesn't protect you. It's some protection, but it's not absolute. So just keep that in mind. It is the content of what you write and what you disclose on social media that can be the most challenging. This disclaimer is great, but it is not an absolute, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay. And you can begin to see the number of social media cases that have occurred, and again, they're problematic. So just some things to keep in mind moving forward. Again, you know, we all love to text various things at various times to people, but I would strongly suggest that texting from the board table can result in someone filing for an OPA request for your phone records. Now, unless you want to turn over your phone records to your business administrator, who is probably the one responsible, you don't want to be doing that. Additionally, you know, I served on a board of education when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and cell phones were not ubiquitous. So I get that we all have kids at home and family. You can put your cell phone on the table, put it on vibrate, put it upside down so no one sees it, and if there's an emergency, you can step out of the room, take the call, do what you need to do so that we're not putting anyone at risk, Um, all of my board members, really their kids all survived, including mine, even though we didn't have them. People know how to get a hold of you. If there's really an emergency, they'll get you, okay? So again, an ethics complaint will need to show a nexus between the action and the information sharing and your role as a board member. So in order to not have that happen, you can just avoid it. You are always your child's advocate, first and foremost, all of your children. When you are meeting with staff as the parent of a child, don't begin the meeting with, "Hi, I'm here and I'm a board member." You are there as a parent and you need to try to keep those roles separate. It's important to remember that. The SEC has been very clear that if you had a campaign social media pages, which I understand most folks now have, you should refrain from using that platform because it may be viewed as the position of the board. So you should put that webpage on inactive in some fashion, and I'm not sophisticated enough around websites and how tech operates, but you can do that, I've been told. Do it, and don't use it again until 3 years from now when you want to run again. If you administer a social media page as an administrator, you could be linked to the content posted on that page. Again, you can, but most attorneys, their favorite phrase is, just because you can does not mean you should. And so our advice would be not to be the administrator of a social media group because you put yourself at unnecessary risk. Okay? I've given you the relative chart so that you can see that. All of these things are available to you. These links all work to the SEC. It has been a pleasure to be here this evening. Nice to be in Montgomery again, as always. If you have any questions, you're always free to reach out to us. Give us a call. We're always happy to help in any way that we can. And I look forward to seeing all of your faces at various trainings and at workshop in October. A little plug. It's always a wonderful opportunity to network with folks across the state. So thank you very much. And thank you for serving your community and the students. You do make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Okay, at this time, the board will convene in executive session for item number 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, thank you. Time 7:56. Okay, do I have a motion to reconvene in open session?
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. The next item for business is our nomination for board president. The way this process will work is I'm going to open the floor and I'm going to ask the board to nominate whoever they wish for the position of board president. After the nominations end, I will close the nomination process and then I will open the floor to discussion, and then I'll give a quick review on how the nomination process, how the voting process works, and then we will go into our vote. So at this point in time, the floor is now open for the nomination for the position of board president. And now, in no particular order, could please make the nominations for that position. Who would be the first nomination?
I
Somebody
would
would
like to
make.
nominate Dr. Wang for the president of the board.
Okay, so the first nomination was for Dr. Wang. Are there any other nominations for the position of board president?
Yeah, I respectfully nominate Patrick Todd.
Okay. Second is Patrick Todd. Any other nominations for board president? Okay. If there are none, that closes the nomination process for the position of board president. I'm going to let everybody know how the process is going to work, and then we can have a discussion and then vote. As per our policy, the way the voting process works is in the order the nominations came in. So Dr. Wang was the first nomination that came in. We will go around the table, and I'll ask the board to collectively vote yes or no for Dr. Wang. And the first person that was nominated that receives a majority vote, which would be 5, of the board members present would be voted the position of board president. And we will go until we have somebody that was nominated that gets 5 votes. Now we'll just open the floor up for discussion, and then when discussion ends, I will continue with the vote. Any discussion?
I hope all the candidates, thank you Vanita for the nomination. I hope all the candidates here can speak about your philosophy of the board leadership, and also can explain a little bit to the public and of course the board colleagues how you can contribute to the board leadership role.
All right. This is just open discussion. There's no specific forum for this. Is there any other comments, discussion amongst, this is basically amongst the board right now on the 2 candidates that were nominated.
So anybody have questions to my questions, say against my question?
And the board can choose to engage or just end the discussion process. So I'm just kind of reminding everybody of our procedure for this evening.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about my philosophy of the board leadership and how I can contribute to this role if elected. First, I believe effective board leadership begins with a commitment to collaboration, inclusiveness, and continuous improvement. A strong board requires a welcoming and respectful environment, especially for new board members, where every voice is valued and diverse perspectives are seen as a strength. So I believe effective leadership is grounded in data-informed decision-making. This means not only using data to guide our work, but also being open to what the data tell us, even when they challenge assumptions or require us to rethink current approaches. We must avoid defensiveness and instead embrace inquiry, reflection, and adaptation. Our goals as a board should be measurable, student-centered, and transparent. Our school district progress should be tracked and discussed openly, with accountability as a shared responsibility to ensure that we're delivering on our promises to students, families, and the broader community. Above all, board leadership must be model integrity, curiosity, and the relentless focus on equity and outcome for all the students. Next, I want to talk about, briefly elaborate the experience and perspective I could bring to the role of the board president. So I have professional training in educational policy and administration, measurement, statistics, and research design, paired with direct teaching experience in both K-12 and higher education. This combination allows me to connect board governance, data, and policy decisions directly to the student achievement, teaching, and learning. In my current role at the top R1 public university, I support institution-wide student success initiatives. My daily work aligns closely with our township school district first goal, student achievement, by translating complex data into actionable strategies that help students thrive. Every year, I have the opportunity to present this work at an invited student success conference attended by about 200 administrators and faculty, reinforcing my commitment to evidence-based collaborative leadership. My perspective is also grounded in my own educational journey and in my experience working with diverse student populations, including many from less advantaged backgrounds. I have seen how assessed support and high expectations can transform lives. Today, nearly 1 in 4 students we serve at Rutgers come from less advantaged background, and that reality reinforces my belief that our responsibility as a board is not only to maintain excellence, but to ensure that excellence is accessible to every student. My commitment to student success predates my time on this board and will continue long after any role I hold here. Whether I'm serving as a board president or simply just a dedicated board member, my priorities remain consistent: supporting students, respecting educators, strengthening community partnerships, and making thoughtful, data-informed decisions that serve Montgomery's long-term interest. If entrusted with the role of president, I will lead with integrity, foster collaboration, listen carefully to diverse perspectives, and keep our governance student centers transparent and forward-looking. And thank you for the nomination, and thank you for the opportunity to continue serving in the Montgomery community.
All right, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing, Mr. Tong.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Board Member Franco Herman, for the nomination. I've served on this board since being elected November 2020, so I'm coming into my 6th year of serving on this board. 30 years of public service from law enforcement to serving on the board. I will continue focusing on collaboration with my fellow board members, the administration, and the students. This is what this board is about. I will deliver consistency, collaboration, and I would love to continue in this role as your board president.
I want to say something. I'm pleased to nominate Ting Wang for president of Montgomery Township Board of Education. Ting brings strong professional expertise in educational policies. I thought my voice was pretty big. Ting brings strong professional expertise in educational policy.
Just pull it a little,
Yeah,
just
pull it
grab it
closer.
right here.
Pull it closer.
Pull it a little bit closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Administration and data-informed decision-making. Along with first-hand teaching experience in both K through 12 and higher education, she has consistently demonstrated thoughtful leadership, a student-centered approach, and a commitment to transparency and collaboration. Ting's work at top R1 Public University, which is a research-based university, supporting large-scale student success initiatives directly aligns with our district priorities. She understands how to connect data, policy, and governance to outcomes that benefit all students. These are the reasons why I think she could be a great board president. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I'd like to thank the board for the nominations and the spirited discussion. If there's no further discussion, at this point in time, Dr. Wang was the first candidate nominated. So right now, we're going to go around the table, yes or no. And as I mentioned before, we're looking for a majority of the board members present, which would be 5, to be elected to the office of board president. Begin with you, Dr. Wang.
Yes?
No. Smina.
No?
Franco Herman.
No.
Swarland.
No.
Ms. Harris.
No.
Mr. Nunez. No. Ms. Norgan.
Yes.
Mr. Todd.
No.
Okay, based on the vote, there's not a majority of the members present that voted for Dr. Wang, so we will go to the next nominee, which would be Mr. Todd. We're going to begin the vote with you, Dr. Wang.
No?
Effort.
Yes.
Smina.
Yes.
Franco Herman.
Yes.
Warland.
Yes.
Ms. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Nunez. Yes. Ms. Norgan. Mr. Todd.
Yes.
Okay, based on the vote, that is a majority, and I'd like to congratulate Mr. Todd on nomination to Montgomery Township School District Board President. Congratulations. At this point in time, I'm going to pass the meeting over to Mr. Todd, and he's going to continue the same process for the position of Vice President, and then we will move to our agenda items.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Caliano. Thank you, board members. I'm ready to serve you again. At this time, we'll open up nominations for Vice President.
I nominate Lavina.
Okay, are there any other nominations for the position of Vice President?
I nominate Maria Spina.
Are there any other nominees? Any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. Any discussions from the board?
Similar to this position, I hope the candidate can talk about your philosophy and how you're going to support the board and what you can contribute.
Any other discussion? Would the nominees like to speak? Ms. Nargon?
Yeah, I just wanted to say good evening, everyone. Serving on this board has been given me a deep appreciation for important role as we play in providing oversight and supporting the superintendent and the leadership team. I work in another school district and have finance background, and I'm a parent of 2 children who graduated from public schools and are now in workforce. So I understand the importance of public schools. Through my work on finance committee and on the negotiation team for Wheels of Change Association, I have gained experience in collaboration, budget oversight, and thoughtful decision making, all skills I bring to our board. I am grateful the public has entrusted me to serve on this board, and I now respectfully ask for your support and trust as well. As Vice President, I would focus on fostering collaboration among board members and maintaining a strong, respectful partnership with our superintendent and always prioritizing what's best for our students and staff. We have a strong district and a dedicated leadership team, and together I'm confident we can continue advancing our schools and serving our community well. I do understand I'm on board less than 2 years, yes, but I am in the school district for almost 20 years and served in many PTAs, associations, and in the community associations, and I understand how to work with people, how to bring a team together. So I just want to help in any way to make this district great, even greater. Thank you.
Thank you, nominee Nargon. Nominee Spina, would you like to make a statement?
Sure.
Thank you, Board Member Harris, for nominating me. I've served on the board since 2022, mainly because Ms. Harris had started a ad hoc committee, which brought community members, parents, students, faculty together to work on a joint effort project. And those ad hoc committees are something that we should probably be doing more of. As someone with 22 years of experience in public and private education, as a teacher, as an administrator, as a teacher again, I definitely know the ins and outs of schools. I know that Montgomery is one of the best school districts that we have in the state for sure, if not the best. I would not have moved here and send my 3 children here if not. My oldest will be graduating this year. I have 2 more still to go through high school and the rest of middle school and high school. And I hope to continue to serve, to support the board president, the superintendent, the faculty, but most importantly, the students of this district as they continue to engage in the excellent education and to bring back some of that community feel that brought me onto this board from way back when, 4 years ago. Thank you for the nomination.
Thank you, nominee Spina. Any other discussion from the board?
I want to say something about why I nominated Vanita. Vanita brings a combination of expertise, as you heard, and also diligence and collaborative leadership that makes her exceptional, well suited for this role, in my opinion. She has demonstrated strong knowledge in finance, ensuring that board decisions reflect careful oversight of the resources and physical responsibility. Beyond technical expertise, she constantly supports her fellow board members, asking thoughtful and probing questions that promote transparency and accountability in our decision-making processes. And Vanita also goes above and beyond by conducting research on policies and practices from other school districts, bringing evidence-based perspective that inform our discussions and enhance the quality of our governance. Her unique approach and willingness to share insights, contribute meaningfully to the board's work, and foster a culture of collaboration and informed leadership. For all the above reasons, I'm confident that Benita will serve effectively as Vice President and continue to strengthen the Montgomery Township Board of Education's commitment to excellence, transparency, and student success. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Italiano, please call for the vote.
Okay, so based on our process, Ms. Nargand was the first nominee for the position of Vice President. So right now I'm going to go around and take everybody's vote for Ms. Nargand, beginning with you. Dr. Wang.
Yes.
Scheffer?
No.
Spina?
No.
Franco Herman?
No.
Worland?
No.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Mr. Nunez? Nargand?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
No.
Based on the vote, there's not a majority present, so we're going to go on to our next nominee, which is Ms. Spina for the position of Vice President, beginning with you, Dr. Wang.
No.
Pfeffer?
Yes.
Spina?
Yes.
Franco Herman?
Yes.
Warland?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Nunez?
Yes.
Ms. Nargand? Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Okay, based on the vote, that's a majority, and congratulations to Ms. Spina for being nominated to the position of Vice President.
Thank you, Mrs. Caliano. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve reorg items 8 through 24 and action agenda items 1.1 to 4.1.
Before we move forward with that, I'm just going to add one thing. Item 4.1 was a late addition to the agenda and wasn't publicly advertised, so I'm going to then read the item aloud, and then we'll continue with our vote. So 4.1 is a personnel section item, and it reads as follows. Whereas the superintendent of schools has required a staff member whose name is on file, the superintendent's office, to undergo a medical examination in accordance with policy 3161, NJSA 18A:16-2, and NJAC 6A:32-6.3, and whereas the employee has requested to use a physician of the employee's choosing, consistent with the above referenced policy, statute, and regulations, and has submitted documentation in support of that request, and whereas the board has considered and evaluated the employee's request, now therefore be it resolved that the board grant the employee's request, subject to all conditions set forth in policy 3161, and directs the assistant superintendent for human resources to notify the employee of the same. So that is item 4.1, and we're going to be voting on those reorganization and business items at this time. I'm going to begin with the vote. Dr. Wang.
Oh,
sorry.
No.
Are we gonna have discussion?
Is there
Sorry.
is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt reorg items 8 through 24 and action agenda items 1.1 through 4.1.
Now we can get discussion.
Any discussions on the motion?
Yes, I have discussions here. Page 4, item 10, it said those professional services for the records for 2026. I just want a clarification. This is for this calendar year, not referred to the school year, right?
So page 4. Item
Professional
10.
services said
Right.
Board of Education approved the following professional contract services of the records for 2026.
Right.
So that's for the calendar year, not for the school year.
Right, that's correct.
Okay, is that because the reorg happened in January and for the full whole year, and that's why it's for that? Thanks for the clarification. And another question is for page 6.
Okay.
20, readaptation of curriculum and courses of study. It also said adopted for the period from the date of this organization meeting until the next organization meeting, that would be January 2027. But the course of study and curriculum for that contain the next school year though. So shouldn't be this just from the date of this organization meeting until the end of the school year?
I'm going to defer to Ms. McLaughlin for the curriculum question.
The
curriculum is approved annually, and this is at the reorg meeting, that it is done annually. Any edits to the curriculum would be an additional approval at that time. So like during the summer, if there's summer curriculum work, that will be approved in the summer. And then next January, you're approving those again, plus the ones that were already in place.
But that's, so for example, the new board members, and then they're basically approving for the upcoming school year's curriculum and courses of study.
Yes.
And just to clarify, these courses are currently in place.
Yes.
They are already moving and courses of study
Yes, if
are.
there's any new
right,
courses, they will be approved
in August.
separately as we move along.
This is just strictly a readoption of the approved curriculum.
It's a continuation process.
Continuation process. Okay, thanks for clarification. But, in my opinion, I think to be more accurate, it should be ends towards this school year. You know,
But anything that
It's
would,
already in.
right, because anything that wouldn't be changed over summer would actually continue on in September.
Yeah.
And that would still be the year 2026, so through till 2027. That's the reason why it's like that.
Same for the next one is readaptation of the textbook, because over the summer, the team will start to write, like the board approved the writing of some of the curriculum, some of the textbooks. Similar to that is maybe get involved into readoption, introducing new textbooks for board approval. So I feel just for more accurate, it's more like should be end. The board right now at this point should approve whatever till the end of the school year, but not beyond the school year. What beyond the current school year should be discussed and approved by the board again before the, like, by JSBA guidelines, like in May.
You would have a period of time then where nothing is approved if you did it that way, because the new school year starts July 1st. So that's the reason you have these twice a year continuation processes to move along, and then any additions are discussed throughout the school year. If you did it that way, then July 1st there would be no curriculum textbooks in place.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Does that make sense?
So like in May, we'll approve what the changes.
If there are, July, August, if there are any changes, correct.
Or May something, according to NJSBA. Well, thank you for the clarification again.
No problem. Is there any other questions or discussion on any of the reorganization or business items before I
Any
take the
further
vote?
clarification needed? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Okay. Dr. Wang?
Since I had this question, even though you guys clarified that, but I don't feel I have enough information to approve the next school year's
Okay.
textbook and curriculum and courses study. So I will abstain for these two items.
Okay, so yes for all items and abstain from items 20 and 21.
Yes.
Noted. Thank you. Ms. Pfeffer?
Yes to all items, but I abstain on 1.1.
Thank you. Noted. Ms. Spina?
Yes.
Ms. Franco-Herman?
Yes, recused from 4.1.
Thank you. Noted. Ms. Worley?
I'm abstaining on action agenda item 1.1 and approving everything else.
Thank you. Noted. Ms. Harris?
Yes to all, and I recused from 4.1.
Thank you. Mr. Nunez?
Yes to all, except abstaining to 1.1 as well.
Noted. Thank you. Ms. Narva? Yes to all. Thank you. Mr. Todd?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galliano. Board public comments. Members of the public are allotted one opportunity to address the board regarding action agenda items or any other business for up to a maximum of 3 minutes during this period of the meeting. All comments must be directed to the board. Before you make your comment, please state your name and address and write both in the notebook provided. Being mindful of privacy rights regarding students, board employees, and board members, and to avoid any potential liability on the part of the speaker, the board discourages defamatory and discourteous remarks. The public comment portions of the meeting are not structured as question and answer sessions. The board may need to refer an issue to the superintendent if the issue has not been handled through the appropriate chain of command, usually starting at the school level. Responses may be provided at the end of this session. Are there any public comments?
Good evening. Good evening. Congratulations to the new board members. I hope you have a very productive term and you represent the interests of our community well. Before I start my speech, I wanted to ask you, Andrew, to double check the count because it seems like 5 board members abstained from the vote, so I don't think you have a majority to carry the motion for the first item. Just double check. On November 25th, the New Jersey Department of Education issued an update confirming the audit report filing deadlines for fiscal year 2025. The standard filing deadline was December 5th, 2025. Districts required to file the 2025 compliance supplement were granted an extension due to delays in the release of federal inputs. Those districts were instructed to submit a complete audit report by a new deadline to be established by the Commissioner following the release of the compliance supplement. Montgomery Township District Audit Report was signed and filed by the original December 5th deadline. This confirms that the audit report was complete and it did not require any extensions. Accordingly, the report was ready to be shared with the board in December. It should have been presented to the board for review and approval at the December board meeting, and the auditor should have formally presented the audit results to the board at that time. However, at the December 9th of committee meeting, both the auditor and the business administrator stated that the audit report was not ready and it required an extension. Therefore, it would not be shared with or presented to the board at the December meeting. Based on the Department of Education filing confirmation, it appears that the board was provided false information regarding the status of the audit report, and that the audit report was filed with the state prior to the board approval or review. This raises serious questions. Why was inaccurate information regarding the audit readiness shared with the audit committee? Why was the audit report filed without the board approval? Why was the auditor's presentation to the board deferred despite the report being complete? Board Policy 6830.
That's time, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Hearing and seeing none, public comments are now closed. Anything you'd like to address?
The vote is correct.
Yeah, correct. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I have a question.
You have a question?
Because last year, I don't recall I received this annual auditor report for F1 24, in January. But this year was in January.
It's per the auditors. The auditor said that the single annual audit request based on federal audits, that information was not complete and available for the December board meeting when the agenda went out. I put the documents in the state repository that were presented to me by the auditor by the statutory December 5th deadline, but that was not a finalized audit report. The auditor discussed that to the off committee, and that was discussed when the off notes were presented at the December board meeting, and everything was not done, anything of my opinion, it was done completely by the board's auditor.
Oh, I was
And if
asking.
you have any, Yep.
Actually, I'm not asking.
So that report is going to be voted on in January, at our January 27th meeting, based on our new calendar. The report will be provided before the meeting, and the auditor will be present to give a presentation and answer any questions that the board has.
Actually, I was asking in January, because I started the board on January 2025. I'm
Okay.
asking 2025, I did not receive that. Is that because that auditor report has been shared like December 2024?
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember what emails I sent out in December of 2024 and January of 2025. Like, my wife barely knows that I remember to pick up the groceries that she asked me to get when I come from the store. So whenever the report was approved last year, it was given out that month before that board meeting. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Because
Sorry.
this is my first time receiving the auditor report.
I just mentioned, for last school year, that audit report will be provided before the January meeting. The auditor will be present, and the auditor, he'll give a presentation, in his presentation, on why the different pieces of information were released, and everything was copacetic. He'll answer all your questions at that time.
Look forward to that. Thank you.
You got it.
Any other items?
Andrew, if I have some questions on particular pages in the audit report, can I send you an email? And
Of course. Whatever you like.
And just thank you again. I know you sent out an extensive email to, offer all of us to be able to ask you any questions, just like you did last year. I do appreciate that, you making yourself available to the board for any questions.
No, I'm happy to help. You're welcome.
Any other items from the board? Hearing and seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any questions on the motion? Any discussion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. As opposed, same right. Abstentions? Thank you all for coming out. Have a good evening.